Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so to keep up with the latest updates. So today we're going to talk about how to choose the right sports psychologist for yourself. Now, one of the things that we look for when we are choosing a sports psychologist are qualifications. In the UK, there are two associations which offer this qualification. One is British Psychological Society, which we call as BPS, and the other one is BASIS, British Association of Sports and Exercise Sciences. Now, these are the two main pathways that sports psychologists choose after they finish their master's degree. They do this training for about 2 to 6 years to fully qualify. And this gives them indemnity insurance, which means that their work has to be very good and what they're doing has to be recorded. And you can sue your psychologist if they've given you wrong kind of advice or if it has affected your performance in sports. Now, that is the advantage of going to a qualified sports and exercise psychologist or a trainee sports and exercise psychologist who is going to qualify very soon, because there is a very good process in which they work, and it's all evidence-based, which is research-based, and it is recorded. Everything that you talk about is recorded and confidential. And of course, you can complain against them if you're not happy. So, for example, if they breach confidentiality, then you can actually go and complain to BPS or BASIS saying that this psychologist has done so and so. So, if you're looking for any kind of psychologist, it's extremely important to look at their qualifications. Now, this doesn't mean that somebody who's not qualified is not going to be just as good, because there have been instances where somebody is called a mental performance coach or a mental skills coach, and they might be just as good as a psychologist, or they might sometimes be even better because of their experiences, their skills, and the way they approach people. They have great people skills. They probably studied psychology in the past, or they've trained, done some certifications. So I'm not saying that a qualified psychologist will always give you what you need, but what I'm saying is that you may have a better chance and opportunity to have a better experience with a qualified psychologist. Now, it also depends on a psychologist's approach. So, for example, some psychologists may be CBT practicing, some may be mindfulness or acceptance commitment therapy. They might be using that type of approach, which is what I use. So it really depends on their approach more than their qualification. But when they have a qualification, you know that they have a very strong approach that they're using on their clients, and that is driven by research as well. So that's one of the advantages of having a qualified psychologist that you go to. The second thing to consider is experience in the sport. Now, really and truly, the experience that they have with your specific sport doesn't matter as much. What really matters is their approach. The reason why I say this is because there have been a number of times where I've worked with athletes where I didn't know anything about their sport and I had no clue. So I had to study that. I had to study the elements and conduct a full sports analysis to understand, what are the main requirements in their sport. And that's how I learned about their sport and I could help them. So if they don't know anything about your sport, that's completely fine, as long as you click with them and their approach is something you really look forward to, because that will make it easier. It makes the relationship a lot easier. I think the third thing to consider is having an initial consultation. Now, if a sports psychologist or any psychologist or therapist doesn't offer a free consultation to you and they just tell you, oh yeah, I can work with you, that may not always be ethical. The reason why I say that is because in the initial consultation, a psychologist can decide whether that case is something they can work on. So, for example, I've had many clients who call me and then tell me, oh, I've got serious anxiety and depression, or I've got borderline personality, or I've got previous suicidal thoughts, And I know that I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a sports and exercise psychologist, a trainee, but I'm working towards my chartership in that particular field. So what you need to remember is that they speak to you initially, or they tell you more about themselves. And most psychologists, 99% of them, will do that. And in that 2 or 3 minute call, or as I offer, a 30-minute call, you will get to know whether that's the person you can work with, and they can also decide whether you're the person, they can take on as a client. Another thing to remember is that your consent has to be recorded. So when you work with somebody who's fully qualified or certified, they will always record your consent and explain the methods to you. And if somebody is not doing that, then make sure you ask them about the process. You have complete clarity over how the sessions are going to take place, how much they charge, what is their approach. Those are the kind of questions you want to ask. Another thing I would want you to consider is experience. Now, there are some psychologists who are extremely experienced, like my supervisor who's got 20 plus years of experience. Now, I have got maybe like 4 to 5 years of experience in my field, so it's probably not as much. But really and truly, when a psychologist is much more experienced, of course, they might have a better way of working, but it also costs a lot more. Whereas when you work with trainee psychologists, we have experience, but we also have vicarious experience, which means that we still have our supervisors to support us. And you kind of still get a similar sort of service, maybe not as good as an experienced one, but not too bad either. But it also helps you to not pay too much money, and also you know that a qualified trainee sports and exercise psychologist will have a supervisor who will be overlooking their work. So the quality is kind of assured in some ways, because if there's a difficult case that I have, I will be discussing it with my supervisor. So those are some of the things to consider. I think I have more to talk on this topic, but I will probably make another video to let you know more, because I can't think of more things. But if you do like this video, do share and comment and let me know what you'd like me to make another video about. Take care. Bye bye.